Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Oh, good, Frank. Welcome to Perspective Shift.
Yes, another day
Another episode.
in the life of Mike and Frank.
I love it.
Yeah.
Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
I did. How
Good.
about you?
It was great.
Yeah.
Family, friends, got to enjoy, relaxing, taking some time off of work.
Is it really relaxing?
Well,
You drove the five houses.
I was going to say, I had 3 Thanksgivings. This Thanksgiving kind of ran around and saw my family. Went over to my girlfriend's house. It was quite the trip.
Yeah, it's like driving around.
Yeah. It was fun, though. It was cool because I don't know what it is about holidays, but there's like this collective consciousness of like letting go and just not as much thought going on. And I feel like people really do take the day on holidays. Like you can feel it around Christmas, Halloween, just like there's like this sense of...
Yeah, it's a centralized focus is what it is.
It's great.
Like everybody's focusing on the same thing, pretty much everybody.
I've noticed this the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And like my meditations on these days are I don't know, I don't want to say more full. They feel good, and
right.
so days like that I can always tell, like I'm like, man, this is everybody around me is letting go. Everybody's enjoying, there's gratitude in the air.
Yeah, and because I think that's everyone's focus, and that focus is what kind of generates this fine-tuned thing where we all can tap into each other, at least for the month or month and a half, as long as the holidays. And everyone's like, why isn't it? Can't be Christmas all the time. Like, well, it can be. You have to be that. You have to run around with
maintain that state.
Yeah, you have to run around like Santa Claus or whatever holiday you.
I'm stoked
celebrate
for today's episode.
Yeah,
this
is a good one.
And Frank, you've been talking about this gentleman to me for years.
Yeah, somebody.
Who are we doing today?
His name is Wim Hof.
Yeah, the Iceman.
Yeah,
hell yeah.
Yeah, so I was turned on to him about, I want to say it's at least 5 years ago.
Okay.
And a buddy of mine told me about him, and I started, pulling up his YouTube videos, reading about him, and doing his methods actually, because that's why my friend brought it up. Him and I, we get physical, work out and stuff like that, and he realized I'm doing that, and you always come to this place where you're hitting the wall. So we started doing these breathing exercises by Wim Hof, and even incorporating the other stuff. I've been doing the cold water for 5 years now.
Holy shit.
Now living in Arizona, it's tough because the winter is perfect.
Yeah.
But when the summer comes, it's very difficult to find cold. I can't, I take a cold shower every day, but when the summer comes, it's not really cold. It's not hot. But
here in Arizona.
Yeah, here in Arizona.
Yeah.
The water comes out. I don't know what the temperature would be, but probably close it gets is like 70 degrees.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
So it's still pretty room temp.
Yeah, it is. But I love the winter because I love jumping in the pool. I take a cold shower every day.
Yeah.
Wakes my ass up.
Dude, it does.
Yeah.
So in honor of Wim Hof and this last week, as Frank and I, dove into him, his, what he's about, all that, I also participated in the ice cold shower challenge.
And
I've
was
never
your
done
life
this.
changed?
Yeah, I've never done this. And so it was weird. So it started with 2 weeks ago, what I did is I started with okay, I'm just going to get into the shower. I'm going to immediately turn it on. I'm allowed cold water to hit me. And then I'm going to, allow it to just heat up. I turned it on hot, and it takes about a minute to get, warm. And that was tough.
Yeah.
I'd get in and I'd be kind of breathing through, the cold air or the cold water hit me. It was doable though, at that minute. And then I'm like, okay, and I started talking to Kayla, my girlfriend, and we were looking through his app and we were testing all this stuff. And one of the things he said, he's like, start warm and then go cold. And I'm like, okay, so I'm kind of doing this backwards. Hold on, let me change this up. Because literally, Frank has talked to me about this for years. I remember you telling me this back in 2020 when we were starting and doing this podcast. You were like, dude, you got to try this. So then I switched, and then I got into the shower, and I would turn it on warm, and I'd allow it to heat up. I'd get going and whatnot, and then I would turn it cold to actually clean my body, shampoo, all that type of stuff. And I do it for about 3 minutes.
Like a jolt that just hit you like the cold water.
It was honestly not that bad going from the hot to the cold. Honestly, the shock of getting in and having cold water hit me first was more tough. But man, the level of alertness and like your body feels like it's almost vibrating when you get out. It is next level as far as those feelings go. And this is where the science comes into play. And you can find all this on Wim Hof's website, in the app, all sorts of stuff. But it boosts endorphins by 200%. It boosts this by 400%. There's all these like different, qualifying things that it talks about. Your white cell blood cell count, shoots up, all sorts of stuff. But man, do you feel different? And all the science is great, but just the feeling alone, you're like, wow, this is doing something.
Yeah, and the science is interesting because it allows people to actually go do it and to see if there's benefit. But I'm like, let's just do it. You'll know. And he is one of, if I'm not mistaken, one of the most studied people in this area. Like
100%.
He welcomes all scientists. So most of the studies now are independent studies that people have done. And there's a lot of data on him. And there are other people studying this stuff. There's another guy I follow. His name is Andrew Huberman. He's done a lot of study with cold water. Okay. And he I'm sure he knows who Wim Hof is, but he was just doing independent of Wim Hof. He was just doing cold water. And they came to a point where I think they said like 10 minutes a week of just, cold shower. So maybe 5 days a week, two minutes.
2 minutes. Yep.
Is significant in changing your alkaline system in your body. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, and that's what Wim Hof talks about is we're learning to control our autonomic system. Okay. And even our immune system, which were thought not to be controllable by the mind. Mm-hmm. It was just, the autonomic system it's automatic. So we have no control over that unless we consciously breathe in. But we're actually learning to control those systems through these techniques. Now, in the beginning, it's a practice. So in the beginning, I remember when I first started doing it, I was telling Mike, the breathing, I wake up every morning and do the breathing, and I hated it. I couldn't stand it. It hurt because you had to breathe in, do like 30 deep breaths, and then you're holding it. You start out like a minute, and I was working up to about 3 minutes. And it was very uncomfortable, but as I'm realizing, that's the point. The point is uncomfortableness. And what we're learning through all these Here in Perspective show, what we're talking about, is when we willingly place ourselves in discomfort, there's growth. So it's a play between comfort and discomfort, all right? You don't want to outweigh one. Like, you don't want to just be completely discomfortable. It's like, there's no life right there. But when you actually play the balance point between comfort and discomfort, there seems to be expansion. Actually, I personally know there's expansion in my life because of it. And when I ponder this, I think about it. When we were children, we did that automatically. I remember, like, me and my friends would always jump into a cold water. Like
I did stupid shit all the time when I was a kid. You just we
did it out of a dare. But there was like everything from climbing. How high can you go up in the tree? And that's uncomfortable. Especially everyone has a fear of heights to a degree, right? Like someone's like, I don't fear heights. I'm like, well, you do. It's to a degree. How high does one have to go to feel a fear of heights? Right?
Totally.
So I remember doing that as a kid, and you go beyond the point in which you would have done without the pressure of your friends, but you did it willingly, and you agreed to it. And when you came down from that tree, it was like, wow, there was something. And you didn't really sit around the circle with your friends and discuss the intellectual understanding of, hey, Jim, what went on inside? We just ran off and played baseball or threw rocks through windows, whatever came first.
Great points, all of that.
But we were children. It just came natural. And now we have to learn how to become childlike again. And this gentleman, Wim Hof, my God, I would love to hang out with this dude.
Me too, man.
Yeah,
you can just even in these short clips that we're going to share with you guys today, like the level of just genuine like love and I don't know, like goofiness, quirkiness. Like he's just so himself, and it's very clear that he's not putting on any show, and it's very relatable. It's very, very cool to watch, and so. There's a few different clips that we selected for today because we want to give you guys a diverse.
Like 5 clips.
Yeah, we've got a lot because they're short different clips to kind of capture everything about this gentleman. But a big reason having him on this show is just like last week when we covered Tony Robbins. We went over that. Tony Robbins is seen as a motivational speaker, etc. Not looked at as like this spiritual guru. But at the end of the day, we're all talking about these same types of concepts. Even Wim Hof on this level of the Iceman, the different challenges he does with breath work, with ice, with cold water, all of these meditation, push-ups, all of that, it all relates to consciousness. And that's what Frank and I really want to drive home is what Wim is, these practices that Wim is showcasing and promoting are all tools that we have to access our deeper consciousness and become one with this consciousness. And I think the biggest message across the board, and you'll start to see this in the clips, that Wim Hof has for listeners and for his audience and followers is to stop thinking. It's literally to stop thinking. And when you're thinking, when you're analyzing, you're stuck in the mind. You're not present. You're not in the moment. And it's once you step out of thinking is when you are present. You are in that moment. And these these challenges and these things that he does are meant to bring us into that moment where we don't have the ability to focus on anything other than this moment. Hence the cold showers, the ice baths, etc.
Yeah, when I experienced that, like when you go in a cold shower, like you go in a regular hot shower, like I've done my whole life.
Right.
You're sitting in there, you wake up in the morning, like, oh, I got to do this, got to do that. And all of a sudden that thing, oh shit, I forgot to do that. All of a sudden these worries come up. When you're in cold water.
Because you're nice and comfy.
When you're in cold water, nothing. The house could be on fire.
Yeah.
It really could be. And you would just, like, I was trying to get through this cold shower. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, if the house is on fire, the safest place to be is in the cold shower.
Yeah, right. I'm good.
The fireman will come, yeah, I'll be in the cold shower. I'll be good.
But seriously, every technique that, we'll introduce to you today or Wim introduces to his followers is all simply to get you to stop thinking. And that's what's so brilliant about this guy.
Yeah, and over time.
These are practical methods and easy and free.
Yeah.
Free.
Yeah, actually, it's nature that you're doing it. So,
That's
and what's
awesome.
interesting is when you do these practices over a period of time, all of a sudden, like I was telling Mike, like I was to just think about jumping in like a lake or a river, like Lake Tahoe in the middle of winter, like jumping that. I think about that, and it automatically slows down my thinking, and I'm just thinking about it, just kind of like you think about going to Hawaii.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, it actually brings you to that place. Now, if you've never jumped, like if cold water is something you never had done, thinking about it might shock the hell out of you. Your brain will go, "Oh my god!"
And that's exactly how I was, guys.
Yeah.
Literally, I was like, "Hey, no, we're covering Wim Hof. I need to get into this."
Yeah.
There's a reason I made myself and watch. Like, I know I'm going to continue with this because it's not as bad as once you do it. You know, it's not that bad.
And the thing about cold water, when you talk about place yourself in discomfort, I was telling Mike this. Like, I'll go to the gym and do very uncomfortable workouts, but I have to push myself and put myself to the limit of discomfort. And I'm doing it, right? So I have to break past that. But when you jump into cold water, it's doing it for you.
Yeah.
The only thing that you can do is jump out quickly, but you just stay in there. So it's a quicker way to discomfort than anything I know of.
The trick is, at least for me, was, I'd remind myself, I'm like, look, I am not the body. I'm not the mind. I'm observing that. And then I would carry myself into that shower going, I am not the body. I am not the mind.
Oh, I go in there like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm like, why am I doing it?
I had to remind myself, my will is stronger than all of this. And it allowed me to get in there and turn it on and do that.
Yeah.
But then you get through it and you realize, oh my gosh, like I am. So much stronger than I thought. I can totally handle that.
Yeah, if you start out like 15 seconds and move to 30 seconds.
That's what he recommends in his app.
Yeah.
15, 30, 45 minute plus.
And also, too, what it does, what cold water does, someone asked me one day at the gym, like, what do you do for cardio? And I'm like, I do cold water. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, cold water. What it does to the cardiovascular system, it opens it up. Yeah. So when you actually are sitting on the treadmill or running, whatever you're doing, you're breathing a lot and you're putting your body in somewhat discomfort. But the cold water does the same thing. I also do other things, but my main thing is the cold water. It's amazing how it opens up your blood vessels, everything gets pumping. Like the body's like, what's going on? And even if I do it every day, at least the cold shower I do every day. Mm-hmm. My body, you don't get used to it. Like I wake up every morning, like some days I'm like, all right, get in the shower, don't think about it. But then there are days like, I'm just gonna lay here. And then I hear this voice in my head, "Get up!"
Yep, yeah.
That's Wim Hof.
Get up.
Yeah, Wim Hof's
Let's
voice.
do this.
Get up.
Let's do this.
Get cold.
Yeah. Seriously.
You know, and I jump in there. I'm like, oh man, this better work.
Yeah, right. But honestly, this is worth trying. This is definitely worth taking a peek at. I mean, there's the health benefits to this are nuts, guys. It's through the roof. We'll go over that later in this episode.
Yeah, it's long-term benefits, but when you get in that cold water, when you get out, you will feel euphoric most of the day, if not all day. So this is something that's immediate. It's not like, some meditations might take a little while before they kick in, or they definitely work when you're sitting there for the time being, but once you're done meditating,
you fall out.
But with the cold water, man, you feel euphoric most of the day, if not all day long.
And Frank touched on this, but you are shocking your nervous system, guys. And what these techniques and what this all allows you to do is you realize that you have this free will. Essentially, you're shocking your nervous system willingly.
Yeah,
and
you
so
don't want to. Yeah, you want to force somebody into.
Totally. But I don't know how to explain it other than like you see that you have control even when there's discomfort, and so this carries into like life experiences and situations. Oh, yeah. So you're like, okay, this is some discomfort, but I recognize that this is just some discomfort, and I'm going to be fine. So like you're training your body on like a multitude of levels. Like with these types of challenges. So the shock of the nervous system, knowing you're willingly doing it and knowing that you can handle it and knowing that you will come out of it stronger, more pumped, if you will, that translates into other areas of your life. And now when you walk into that conference room at work, and you've got to speak that day, you're a little less nervous or afraid. You understand, hey, I'm going to get through this. You feel that little feeling of anxiety, the butterflies in the stomach, whatever. You're like, I recognize this feeling. I move into it. And so it carries beyond just, pushing yourself physically.
Yeah, so I don't care who you are. The cold water will always be uncomfortable. It will be discomfort. Yep. But the mind can separate from that. So the reaction to the cold water will be different than like when you did it the first time. Like,
Yeah.
So you actually can calm the mind down. But when I go into like cold water, ice bath, or whatever, I'm fully well aware that my body's cold. But then when I calm the mind down, what's interesting is at times, like I'm not like as well versed in as Wim. I think he went in for like 145.
Well, he just last year was his 63rd birthday.
Yeah,
what I was reading, and it said he did 63 minutes for his birthday in an ice bath, and that was like 7 months ago.
Yeah, but he's done an hour and 45 minutes.
Oh shit!
In ice, not just I'm talking.
You mean talking straight like ice,
straight
snow
ice
or whatever
wrapped around him? Yeah. So.
Oh my god.
Yeah. No, like, and the ice kept melting, so I had to keep putting him on because he was raising his body temperature, his skin temperature. So. What I've learned over the years, my skin temperature actually doesn't drop as much that it did when I first could go in there.
Yeah.
So we're learning to regulate that. I'm not nowhere near where Wim Hof is, but I don't need to be. I just want to be better than I was yesterday. It's not about comparing myself to somebody else, but it's about and yeah, I push myself more and more every day, but not, I'm not trying to break any records. I'm not recording it. It's just for my own. But yet, in that, I see benefit now. Like I see it now. I definitely see a change in the way I act. And ask Karen; she'll tell you.
Oh yeah. Shit, you don't need coffee when you're doing your ice bath.
No, I don't drink coffee anyway. But
yeah.
Actually, probably do the ice bath before drinking your coffee. Nothing wrong with coffee, but I just.
No, I know what you mean.
I don't like the taste
Speaking
of it.
of records, that's something Frank and I were trying to find. Like, okay, how many world records has Wim Hof broken? Because that's a big thing about Wim Hof. A lot of people aren't, turned on to him because of consciousness or the concepts that we discuss on this show. They're more like, dude, look at this crazy beast of a, non-human doing these unimaginable things. And so... Hof himself claims that he has broken 26 world records, and we know he has the Guinness Book of World Records. For swim
the 50
distance.
meter,
swim distance under ice, water, and then he ran a half marathon. With bare feet.
Yeah, in the Arctic Circle.
In the Arctic Circle in snow.
Yeah.
A half marathon in bare feet. So
There was
all
a
these
polar
things
bear looking at him like, this dude's crazy.
Well, it's so funny because any doctor you would go to would tell you that this is impossible. And they would say, nope, impossible. You're going to get hypothermia. Your feet are going to fall off. You're going to die. All sorts of things. And clearly it is possible. Just like the 4-minute mile was not possible, 40, 50, 60 years ago, whatever that was.
Yeah, I'm not sure when they broke that. But
but these ideas, it's all mind. Everything we've been told, everything we've been taught, all this type of stuff, we can push past, certain things. And Wim Hof is, an exemplary example of that.
Now, to remind ourselves, if you go back into older civilizations, like the people that were actually living during the dawn of the Ice Age, these were everyday Wim Hof people.
He's like, that's my tribe.
Yeah, because they were. Exactly. And like even the 4-minute mile type of thing. Well, there's a group of people that live in northern Mexico. They call them. There was I think a book or a movie. Yeah, it's a book called Born to Run.
Never seen it.
They can outrun a deer, not speed wise, but they can. Yeah, and they run barefoot. So there's people on the planet, but they don't hold any attitude of like, look at me. You don't see them running in marathons because they don't. This is their lifestyle. So we're here in the West portraying all this like, look at me, and I'm like, it's kind of like weird, right? Like, and again, Wim Hof is doing it for health reasons, like for helping people. So he's not like, look at me. He's like, everyone can do this, and that's what I like about him.
And he says that.
Yeah,
he's very much so. Anybody can do what I'm doing. When
someone tells you they won the marathon or whatever, I'm like, there's some dude on the planet's been doing this his whole life.
Yep.
But never. They were doing it to catch a deer to eat for the family to eat. So they had to outrun a deer. The deer got tired before these individuals did, and so he's teaching us to get back to our primal place where we didn't have cancer, we didn't have stress, we didn't have any of these worries. Yes, we were in survival, but once we got through the period in which we need to survive from, which is usually very short, we went back to this homeostasis place where we were nice and comfortable. Mm-hmm. Or I shouldn't say nice and comfortable, we were nice and healthy. Mm-hmm. But we were outdoors working and moving around, and there's something intricate within the field of working with your hands and moving and using the physical body, and it becomes a spiritual practice.
100%.
It really does.
He talks about that. In one of the clips I have, he mentions that.
Yeah, that's why we have a lot of anxiety and depression now, because we're all outward material oriented. There's nothing wrong with that, but when it outweighs your inner world, man, I was listening to a YouTube kid, I forgot his name, but like he got into Wim Hof. That's how I found him. Mm-hmm. And he actually interviewed him, but he was talking about like when he finally got to 1 million subscribers on his channel, he thought like, yeah, this is great. He goes, I was still freaking depressed. He's like, this sucks. Like, I thought when I got there, I wouldn't be depressed. But when he started doing meditation, a breathing technique, cold water, all of a sudden he goes, that was it. It's not that you give up, trying to build a platform or a business. You don't do that. But happiness is an inward thing, not an outward thing. Yeah. The outward thing will show you it's working. Whatever you're doing is working. So the fact that this gentleman, young guy, amassed over 1 million viewers at some point in his career means he was doing a good job at what he was doing. But what was he doing for himself? Mm-hmm. And it was ripping him apart. He would go into massive anxiety and stuff. So I found that to be fascinating because I've been fortunate. I've never had massive anxiety. I had agitation. I'm from New York, so what the hell? Everything is like, Jesus Christ. But then it lasts like 5 minutes and I forget about it. So I never really, even like after my brother died, I didn't fall into a major depression. Yeah, it was sad. I went through mourning, but I've been fortunate to where I don't know what it's like to be in this really depressed state like I hear people talking about. And so even when I do the Wim Hof method and do all this stuff, I have nothing to base it off of outwardly, other than just I could see the change myself. But there's a lot of footage out there of people that had cancer that were depressed. I was watching a little clip on a woman with a 7-year-old son that had a a bad heart condition. His heart rate was very low, and she introduced him 7 years old into these breathing techniques, and that was it. He's healthy now in the heart.
That is an amazing story that we need
amazing.
to shine more light on.
Yeah, and that's why Wim does what he does. Well, actually, our first clip will kind of bring you into the understanding of why he did this, and this really strikes home. It's kind of, I wouldn't say dark, but meaningful, and then we'll bring you into more the lightness of Wim Hof.
That's perfect.
All right, check this one out.
And there I was, and I met a beautiful woman, the mother of my children, to come. And I lived with her for 15 years, and we had 4 children. Their eyes, they're those windows to the soul, and she was alive. She was so alive and so sensitive. And she became touched by, I don't know, society, stress, because depression came in. She became psychotic, different personalities. Such a beautiful woman, so open, the mother of my kids, my love. 15 years later, she jumped from 8th story down. I didn't see it coming, but I saw the declining line of life getting out of her control. There I was, alone with 4 kids. This is life beyond tears. I was hopeless, powerless, couldn't do anything. But I always had this deep, strange feeling there is something more, and I don't know what it is. And it's not in words, it's a feeling. It's a craving from the inside, from the soul, from survival. But it got into me like a flash. And I had to go on this path to show the world that we don't need to be powerless in the face of death, in the face of darkness, depression, fear, trauma, PTSD, bipolar, schizophrenia. It wasn't that I was looking for it. I just wanted the answers of life. Like, it is a birthright to know why you're here on this planet, why you're here as a father of children, to bring purpose and sense. That is a simple birthright. And it is being torpedoed and bombarded by all kinds of things, and confusion sets in. No, this was too much. This was the emotion torn in my heart to be healed, not only to become aware how to do that and to take away the darkness for those to come. That was my journey. So how to begin? The only thing I had was my instinct, my intuition. That's the way it started. So, what do? You do 26 world records.
In ice-cold water is the most dangerous.
You go climb Mount Everest in your shorts.
That would kill most people.
You swim under the ice and lose the way, and you don't know where you are, and it's frozen, and you don't know. And you go, and you survive. I was able to stay for 5 to 7 minutes every time under the ice. And the only thing I heard down there was and silence, a awareness deep inside which we have lost. Silence is powerful. Silence is dense. It's what I found there.
Wow.
Wow is right. That was a great first clip.
That was, yeah. And it's chilling. No pun intended.
Seriously.
But, yeah, he, like I read a lot about him and watched a lot of stuff on him. He discovered the cold water when he was like 17. So this is before his wife, even before they met. But, they might have known each other. I'm not really sure of the story there, but. Mm-hmm. And he kept being drawn back to it. But then I think when she died, it was his mission figure it out, because I think, yeah, she passed away. I think it was in 1995. So
Okay.
she did it. Yeah, and she was diagnosed with schizophrenia.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, he's out there, and he's world known, you know. So, he's helping people like me. It's just he's making my life a lot easier, right? But he's helping people with diseases that he's teaching people how to live.
Yeah. People who were told by doctors, you know,
Yeah.
sorry, you're going to have this the rest of your life. You're going to be in suffering. You're going to be in pain the rest of your life. You know, I think crisis, at least from what I've been able to, you know, study from these last, you know, few years, is crisis is a way that it's a blessing in disguise. It's a way for us to, you know, surrender and let go. And it's like often through crisis is when we realize, you know, our infinite capabilities and infinite, you know, stories and narratives that can run on this plane in this reality. And for him to go through this traumatic experience with this wife, this woman he loved, the mother of his children, left with 4 children, you know, after she passes or committed suicide. And for him, where do you go next? What do you do? And then he says, I did the only thing I could do. I listened to my intuition, and I went from there. And that was so powerful, because that's something that no one can take away from us. And no one has a say about is that feeling inside. We know if we're on the right path, or we know if we're doing something. No one else has these types of feelings except you. We each have our own intuition. And the fact that this took him to where he is at now, you know, it speaks volumes to his message.
Yeah, because he always knew it was there, but he's now sharing it to the world because he saw what his wife went through. Like when she was diagnosed, the doctors were just giving her medication. They weren't.
And he talks about that.
Yeah. So, and he doesn't want anyone to suffer that via a family member or themselves, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, going back to all the studies they're doing, it's very difficult to find any negative effects to it when it's done properly. Like actually, there was a book written about Wim Hof. Actually, the book is written to debunk a lot of the stuff he did.
Oh, really?
And the author that had written the book, I think it's called What Won't Kill You.
Okay.
Yeah, I have it written down somewhere. Yeah, What Doesn't Kill Us.
Okay, What Doesn't Kill Us?
Yeah, and it was a reporter who had written the book, and I think he was trying to like disprove, or at least really go and investigate, and he did. And it turns out that the guy actually is now does the Wim Hof method himself. So
he turned him into a believer.
But I think that's the honest approach, because if no one questions this stuff, how do you know?
Absolutely.
But the best way to question anything with yourself is you do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Incrementally, you know, like if you don't, you know, like I don't believe the cold water work, well, I try it. You know, it's going for 15 seconds, see what it does. All right. There's enough scientific evidence. But what is scientific evidence? You know, there was scientific evidence that told us if you eat an apple a day, that'll keep the doctor away. Or was that just a phrase?
Well, no, you're right. Scientific evidence can be very much so manipulated.
Yes,
We
it
see
can.
this all the time in our news, guys. Like the way people manipulate the facts and the data matters, and
Yeah.
it happens to us all over the place. And we have to remember this with these drug companies. They have certain. All right, you got to check this number of people can't be affected. This number. These are how many you're allowed to, you know, feel bad. You know, all the. And you can manipulate science, and we do it all the time, and we see it all the time. You know, like I grew up during the Got Milk craze. That was like a thing when I was growing up. Got Milk was huge. Michael Jordan, Whoopi Goldberg, all these people, milk mustaches, celebrities, athletes, all this stuff. And it's crazy if you go back and you now look at why that happened, why we had this, you know, Got Milk rush. It was a monetary push based on, you know, oversupply of, you know, dairy and milk and cows, and they brought it to schools and all this stuff. And in fact, 1 out of 4 people can't even digest milk, and that's a fact, you know. And so it's like, wait, so 75%,
there's something more
can only have it.
Yeah, but there's some. It's not even the milk. It's something more underlining to that.
Of course.
Because even here covering Wim Hof and the other people we've covered, and he'll actually touch on this Wim Hof because he's done. I watched a documentary where he had these people come out that have done extreme stuff in the past, and they were doing a documentary on him, and they thought they were going to go through the complete Wim Hof method, which starts out with the breathing and the meditation, then slowly moves into the water. He made them first day jump into the water, cold, freezing water
That
for
sounds
10
like
minutes.
Wim Hof.
And they were like, why aren't we doing the breathing first?
Hey, isn't there some sort of breathing for this?
Yeah.
Nope, jump in.
Prepare, jump in. And he goes, it's all in the mind.
Yeah.
So even the cold water, even the breathing, to some level, is a permission slip into the creative understanding of the mind, because people can achieve even what Wim Hof is doing without even going near cold water.
Yeah.
But understanding how we look at cold water, how we look at breathing, all these things, there is a correlation. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. Like even from the aspect of placebo, the word placebo doesn't mean fake or phony. It just means positiving up. Mm-hmm. So there is a correlation with utilizing the outside world or nature, but there's something deeper going on, because when you get to the place of really understanding what you're doing is, it's a belief structure that we have. And when you go in and break it open, all of a sudden everything's possible. And then everyone's like, well, I need you to prove it to me. Okay. But what happens is, if it works for me, you'll call me an outstanding individual or different than everyone else. Mm-hmm. And then Wim Hof was up against that. So they went in. This is the cool thing about Wim Hof. All right. So he had a very traumatic childbirth, because he was a twin.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Yeah, he's a twin. So the cool thing about having a twin is, especially being Wim Hof, if you're being studied, and you can say, well, okay, you're an unusual individual. Well, his brother never went the route he went.
Not many people do.
No, it's like you.
Oh, he didn't run up Mount Everest in shorts?
No, he didn't do that.
What a wimp.
But when they were able to study Wim, they also studied the brother.
Oh, that's cool.
And Wim Hof definitely changed his
100%.
Yeah.
Epigenetics at its finest.
He's the only thing I heard, I don't know if this is true or not, there's what we call brown fat, which is actually what burns the energy in us. It actually creates heat. The amount of brown fat they had when they tested him, I don't know how long ago it was. He's like 63 now, but at the time they tested him, he had the brown fat equivalent to a 20-year-old. Now, when you're first born, you have a lot of it, so it keeps you alive. But then it seemingly tapers off as we get older, and we accept this, right? We accept a lot of things. But all of a sudden, when they tested him, he was a lot older. I don't know, maybe in his 50s perhaps. But he had the amount of brown fat that a 20-year-old would have.
What did his brother have?
His brother had a higher amount of brown fat as well, but nowhere near Wim's.
Okay.
So then, it might have been genetic. But there are other people doing this, and they're seeing their brown fat level up. So, yeah, maybe he was genetically gifted with a little more brown fat than the average person, but his was definitely higher than his brother. It wasn't the same.
See, that's cool.
So that, not many people have that. So he had a twin brother, which they were identical.
Yeah, they had a control group.
Yeah, the control group
with his twin brother.
They probably
That's
call
so
him, hey,
cool.
you
I
want to
didn't
come and
read
do this? Like,
anything about
seriously, dude, you got to stop doing this shit. They're bothering me.
How would you like to be the one brother? Yeah. Oh, I'm the normal one.
Yeah.
They got to just test me.
Yeah. But I recently heard Wim Hof talk about how his brother now does the breathing and stuff like that.
Oh, I mean, this can benefit anyone and everyone.
Yeah.
Guys, your life will change if you wake up and you stretch for 5 minutes, you breathe for 5 minutes, you meditate for 5 minutes, and you walk for 5 minutes.
And
your
main,
life will change.
Yeah, the main focus here is, this is what it is. And this is how what we do here on Perspective Shift. We try to tie everything in to this point. We'll never get there fully.
No one can.
No, we can. But I'm going to try to get damn close today.
Hell yeah.
Whenever we do something different, you have to be conscious. So there's something about being aware consciousness that, via diet, right? How many diets have people done? And it worked. And it worked. Yep. It worked till it became a habit. Yeah. And what happens when it became a habit? It was a plateau. Like, oh, this doesn't work. I'm like, no, it was a conscious effort. And like, oh, I have to eat this. I can't eat that. All of a sudden, you became conscious and you're aware. It does something to the mind. It creates a new plasticity in your mind. So neuroplasticity opens up. It creates a whole new belief structure. And then the physiology of your body changes. That's why you're losing the weight. That's why you're feeling good. It's being conscious. But if I kept, like, if I treated, that's why I think Wim Hof continues to go beyond the point. If I just took a cold shower every day, every day, there will be a plateau. So what do I have to do? I have to stay in a little bit longer, do something else, or add something. I'm continuously taking one more step further than the day before, because that makes me conscious. In the state of consciousness is where the neuroplasticity actually changes. When you're sitting down meditating, and if you've never done it before, you have to be conscious. And sometimes it's very uncomfortable. But witnessing the uncomfortableness means you're conscious. So that's why people say, if you're meditating, like, I don't like it's uncomfortable, I'm like, perfect, it's working great.
Yep.
Because once it gets really cozy and comfortable, you got to do a whole other meditation. You got to do one that drives you. Right now, like the whole Wim Hof thing, I'm like, yeah, it's like I got used to it. But now it's like, okay, now I have to take it to 3 minutes and 5 or 4. What are we doing right now? We're doing 4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 4.
Breath hold.
And we end up like close to 3 minutes. So then once I get to 3 minutes, it's no big deal. Then me and Mike will have to take it maybe to 5 or 6 sessions or whatever.
Yep.
Or add something else. Doesn't mean, you don't want to sit there all day doing a breathing technique. But they're like, if you're in business, go beyond the point which you did, because you have to be conscious. So we're really waking up the conscious state, the ancient part of our brain, the limbic brain. We're waking that up. But when we get so used to comfort and everything's done for us, like the computer and everything shows you, oh, look, it's happening. You don't have to be conscious. And this is where depression is coming in. This is why we're allergic to milk.
Yep.
Like there's some, I know there's a biologist out there that's going to be like, this guy's out of his freaking mind. But there's something correlated in not being conscious. Now, again, it's a play. So we don't want to be conscious all the time, but you have to know, because if you're conscious all the time, are you really conscious? It's a weird thing. Mm-hmm. But I can only understand consciousness coming from the unconscious place. And when I continuously become conscious, it actually shifts and changes my subconscious, which is my programmable mind, the programs within me. This is why we do it. So doing something like Wim Hof, which I like because it's very simple, like it's basic. And it's cool because wherever I go somewhere, like we're going to Tahoe, like late winter.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, well, I'm told Karen, I'm like, we jump. Well, I'm gonna say that.
You're jumping.
You're on your own. But yeah, I'm just jumping in the lake. I'm looking forward to it. In the meantime, I go to other cold places. I search for cold water whenever I can. Not every day. I take a cold shower every day. But that's what I do. That doesn't mean you have to do cold water. But if you do something in the direction of which you want to grow, and you do something a little bit more every day, you get excited. But if I keep doing the same thing over and over and over, I lose the excitement. Yeah, because now I'm becoming habitual, and when I step out of consciousness, I'm not excited. The reason we were always excited as kids, we were always conscious. Why? We had very little in our subconscious to draw from, because we only what I'm saying.
Nothing
we were like a blank
about.
cassette tape is what we were.
Yep.
Now we're like, we have to get rid of that cassette tape and put a new blank one in. And that's the understanding of consciousness and understanding of neuroplasticity. Once you make your brain plastic, so to speak, malleable, all of a sudden it's like you've never been here before. It's like, wow, excitement comes in. So that's why we like to, offer these different people up. And Wim Hof, like, again, it's one of these things where it's very simple. You don't have to go to a seminar. He has stuff on YouTube. He has an app. I
free
think,
app.
Yeah, it's free app. There's other things you could do to pay for it, but I think it's like $50 a year.
Yeah, it's free for the first 30 days, and then I think it's like $6 or something after that.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I think it's like $50 for the year.
Yeah, if you buy the whole year.
Yeah, you follow them along, and but even then, there's stuff on there. On YouTube that you can get, because he wants to give this out. He wants to see people.
Everything's
moving.
free on YouTube.
Yeah.
You can get access to all of his stuff, even the stuff on his app. In different degrees, is all available for free on YouTube. Yeah,
because and it's about getting that information out there, and people become more conscious. Now people hearing about this guy and they get excited, and the excitement is you're notable in conscious state. Because you wouldn't be excited in a non-conscious state, and
that's your body, that's your intuition saying, run with it, run in this direction.
Yeah.
When things feel exciting, when things feel good, move into them, embrace them. You know, we're taught like, oh no, I got to worry. Like I can't feel too good, or otherwise, you know, this is going to be taken from me. And we have this weird, you know, fear that's always like, I can't. Things are going too well. When's the other shoe going to drop?
Yeah, but what is that? What is that? What's that contributed from?
That's a mental mind pattern.
It's from thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does Willem say not to do?
No, you can't.
Yeah.
When you're in cold water, you can't think. You're
can't
just responding. You're actually focused on your feelings, not your thoughts.
Here's a good consciousness clip from Wim that I think would flow nicely based on what we just kind of chatted about.
You got a lower and a higher consciousness, they call. I say you have what is consciousness? It's perception. Consciousness is awareness, perception. Now, perception is neurology. The more neurological pathways are developed within your own brain, the more controlled you are to see more. That is logical. And that is the purpose of our life. Some do it by making a beautiful chair. Some do it by learning many languages. Some do it through making podcasts possible. Some do it by serving others with coffee and tea. It does not matter. Whatever it takes to expand your own consciousness, to bring it from a lower consciousness, animalistic, to this brain, the human brain consciousness, that is connection. And it's done inside the brain. And now we found, once again, it's no pill, it's no drug, it's you, yourself. By the way, we say, get high on your own supply. And get into this breathing. In the beginning of this podcast, you said, I did this breathing in this DMT. Even we are able, through these pneumatic manipulated exercises, through the breath and pressurizing, and to get into the deepest part of the brain, which also is activated during the REM sleep, the deep sleep. That's the DMT. The DMT, and it's to release trauma. And it's also bloody nice. It's like a drug, and we are able to activate that. But so what I say is we are able to become more than the normal. Superhuman means we are actually born to be great, to feel great. Not in the eyes maybe of others, but once you feel great, you radiate greatness. Yeah. You radiate like love. It's like sanity. And people are positively affected. This is going to change the world. And once again, it's no religion, but it's divine.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I've never seen that clip. That's a good clip.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
You know, it ties into what we're talking about on this show.
Yeah.
You know, as well as it from the Wim Hof perspective.
Yeah.
You know,
like even if you don't want to jump into cold water, whatever you're doing, like you mentioned, like whatever task you're doing at work, whatever, just up it beyond the point. So
exactly what
if you're
you
a waiter or waitress, just be kinder or be more conscious that day. So say hi to everyone, look in people's eyes. It changes your life. It changes the life around the people around you as well.
And what do we mean by conscious? Be present. Be in that moment.
Yeah. Be aware.
When you're dropping that dish at that table. Enjoy, make eye contact. Like it's like these things that we just totally take for granted. Is we act like we're just going through the motions. And what he's saying is, what Wilm's saying in this is, stop going through the motions. Be very present in everything you do. He's like, I don't care if you're a woodworker, waiting tables, doing a podcast. He says all of this. Be there, be present, and do it. Do it with a passion. And that
was a good invitation.
Thank you. And like with that, this is something Frank and I always talk about, because when you're listening to this show, let's say you're at a 9-to-5, is not meant for you, right? You have a 9-to-5 you actually hate. It doesn't matter. When you begin to embrace the 9-to-5 and you become very present, you start working and enjoying it. When you're leaving that 9-to-5, you're going to stumble into somebody who's going to, turn you on to something or introduce you to something. Somebody's going to come into your work, to drop off something for a relative that happens to be there, and you're going to strike up a conversation with that person, and it's going to lead to that next step. everybody is on their path right now, and there's no, oh, I'm in the wrong spot, I'm in this shitty dead-end job, I just have to quit. Sure, quit, but you don't need to. When you become present and you're diving into each day, it's going to naturally, like stepping stones, take you to where your highest and best is.
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually like off that what you just said. There's something about what we call slavery, the understanding of being enslaved into where you are in life, and then freedom. And from a job perspective, what is slavery? Showing up exactly on time, doing enough to where you're not going to get fired, and leaving exactly when you're supposed to leave, or when you're supposed to clock out. What is freedom? Freedom is showing up early, doing more than what's asked for you, and then staying till the job is done. And why? It's just freedom just from a sense of how you feel. And the truth is, what will happen is you won't be able to stay in that position for long. You'll keep excelling up. And what happens is the people that are enslaved to their job are doing the bare minimal to not get fired. They're truly enslaved. Yep. There are people in prison that go there and just sit there and wait. And then there are people that do something that feel sense of freedom more than people in the outside world.
I was just going to say, there's people that are more free in prison than out in the
in
world.
Their mind.
Absolutely, yeah. Mandela.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Well,
isn't that where he found himself? Was he in prison when he found himself? I don't know.
Yeah. He was.
Okay,
he was very angry in the beginning, and who could blame him? Like, he was put in prison because he was the wrong color, and he was speaking out against the, the government. So they didn't like that, so they imprisoned him. Mm-hmm. So then he found love, and there he became free. He was in prison for 27 years. It was no.
It wasn't a little run.
Yeah. But when he came out, he obviously became the president of South Africa.
And I think he would say he wouldn't have changed a thing,
no.
Even though being wrongly imprisoned for 27
but
years.
he never knew. He didn't think, okay, if I find love, I'll become the president of this country and I'll get out of here.
Nope.
That's not what he was thinking. He surrendered to the state of love and the state of consciousness, which brought upon love. And we surrender to that. That's why, like, when you go into cold water, dude, you got to surrender. No fighting that. You can't.
You're forced to surrender.
You can't throw a
honestly.
left hook at a freaking cold water thing.
You can't analyze or analyze the cold water. You can't think your way out of cold water.
No.
You just have to be.
You just gotta
and
be.
you're there.
Yeah. You just got to be. All right, what next clip do you want to show?
Yeah, let's jump into the next one.
What is the most treasured memory I have? When I was a young kid. I had no boundaries. I had no, just drive. Yeah, being a child, you are so innocent. You just look at the world as something so huge. And now I'm here, aware of the purpose of the universe, and I'm realizing it to bring love. To bring love and power to every person in the world. What is the most treasurable in the past, what I've experienced, is innocence. And that innocence I want to protect because it is the most treasured.
There you go. Protecting the innocence.
Well, Frank, this is something you talk about often. And you touched on it in the beginning of this episode. To be childlike.
Yeah.
And you're so spot on with that, because what is to be childlike? What is it at the essence? It's to not think. It's no thought. It's no thinking.
Yeah.
It's just doing. Oh, let's go. Okay, do we have your shirt, your shoes? What are you talking about, shirt and shoes? You don't think, you just go.
I got a Snickers bar. That's all I need.
Yeah, and that's what Wim Hof is saying. He's like, just go. And there's no thinking. It's only present moment. And that is so awesome how he brings that up. But what is the key to the universe? As Wim Hof just said, it's love. It's love. Yeah. And where does that love stem from? He's like the innocence of being a child. It's that moment. I was just actually telling Kayla about this last weekend. So I saw this poster that was awesome, and I need to buy one because I would love one for my house. But it said, Jesus is not a Christian, Buddha is not a Buddhist, Muhammad is not a Muslim. These were all teachers of love, Yeah. And I thought that was so powerful because it's like,
They were labeled, yeah.
We took the teachings and we made it not about the meaning of the message.
I had nothing to do with it.
we created religions around these individuals. So we didn't take their message. We made the messenger, the person delivering the message, the God.
Yeah.
And which is, and honestly, exactly the opposite of what the Bible teaches, and writes about, false idols, etc. Yeah. We're worshiping the messenger. We're not worshiping the message. In fact, the messenger would say, "What the hell are you all doing? Like, why are you celebrating me?
Yeah.
Like, why are we not loving each other? This is what I'm here to teach, And so, don't get caught up in finding yourself in a religion, etc. It's all around you. In fact, it's love. And when you begin to love yourself, when you begin to love others, you feel this, man. And we've talked about this in other episodes. The way we've been taught in the Western world what love is, when we hear the word love, we don't really understand what love is. We think of more of like a lust, like a family member, a relationship. We think of love very differently. Love can be shared with somebody you don't even know. Like the moment they walk up, there can be this loving connection. Love is all around us. And that's what Jesus was teaching. That's what Buddha was teaching. That's what Muhammad was teaching. They didn't say, shit, Jesus was a Jew, dude. And we're sitting here like saying, nope, he was Jewish, born Jewish, but no, Catholicism, Christianity, this is the way. It's like, no.
Yeah, that's just
We've been fed crap our whole lives, guys, and it's up to us to see. We're living in this amazing golden age with you can find facts anywhere in your pocket in seconds, and we have all this information around us. Why would we just be slaves to this the previous this is just how it is, this is the way it is?
Yeah, and I think that's too
Explore.
what I like about Wim Hof. He doesn't go the route of the intellect. Like he'll have people study him, but yet he already knows. So even the intellects within the science world is still trying, and they have all these great words for it and stuff like that. And that's okay. But we knew this as children without even knowing what the word science actually meant. So when we get too intellectual, too in the thinking mind, we're going to dig the hole in which we're going to be laying in for the rest of our lives. It's a weird thing.
Yeah,
it really is. And I went down that route too, trying to read as much as I can, become intellect to overpower. But what I'm like, what? I'm like, I don't get this.
Yep.
And I listen to some of the most brilliant intellects I listen to are the most miserable people, because they'll tell you what's wrong with the world and it can't be fixed. And after listening to them, I'm like, holy shit, damn,
heavy stuff.
Yeah, you read, people still talk about the great writers and of our time and classics. I'm like, these people are miserable.
Yeah. Like
a lot of these stories were like dark.
And what happens from them? We only begin to see more of them when that's where our focus is. Like, for example, like over this last weekend, man, the holiday weekend, there was a couple different shootings, in different states. Yeah. We're at a place in society right now where you say, hey, that mass shooting, we have to say which one.
Yeah.
And it's because it's getting more and more publicized. Dude, I remember Columbine so vividly, and that was a long time ago. That was like, what, 13, 14, 15 years ago or something?
Or maybe
even longer. I don't know.
Time flies,
It was a long time ago, and everybody knew that as the school shooting, you know? And that was it. And now it's like, shit, I don't even have enough fingers to count, like, on one hand, to count these number of shootings at these different schools. And so the more, like, we're talking about these things, we're elevating them and we're bringing them into our consciousness. Why are we not talking about love? Why are we not talking about the direction we want to move? One of the most powerful things that I heard about, and I think you told me, Frank, was Mother Teresa. When they approached Mother Teresa and asked her to participate in a what's it called, like a march.
A protest.
Thank you.
Against Vietnam.
Yeah. Hey, we want to have you protest. And she, her response to them was, I will not protest against the war, but I will protest for peace.
Yeah, I will march for peace.
I will march for peace. Yeah. And that is so wise, so invaluable, that little snippet, just knowing that she said that. And this is what Martin Luther King did. He wasn't out there saying, oh, screw the white man for wronging the black. No, he was out pushing love, preaching peace. What do we want to see? This is where we need to put our attention. This is where we need to put our focus.
Yeah.
And then we have all these negative, news sources and all this type of stuff going, well, if you don't talk about this and you're not acknowledging it and you're putting your head in the sand and all this, and it's like, no. I will not elevate this anymore. I will not give any... science has proven where we put our energy, we see grow. So why would we put our energy into something that we don't want to see grow?
Yeah, there's truth to that. So kind of look at it like we live in a world where there's two trains at the platform and they're leaving the station. And one is going to a very dismal type of world.
Okay.
And the other one is going to a more collaborative, collective, expansive world. Right now, these trains are moving at a rate that are still changeable. They're still parallel, but eventually they're going to do this. So which side are you going to choose? All right? You're going to, I want to choose both. I'm like, well, good luck standing on both platforms.
Yep.
Your legs will split.
Yep.
You have to choose which side you want to go on and completely invest in it. What I mean is when you're driving a car, if you completely invest looking at the windshield, you will not get into an accident. What gets you into an accident is you keep looking at the rearview mirror, thinking what's creeping up from where I was.
Keep checking the phone.
Keep checking the phone. You get distracted, thinking there's something else out there. There is nothing else out there. But whatever direction you go in, you're going to experience that. That is physics, period. Via good, via bad, and what you consider to be via good, what you consider to be bad. That's up to you. And these simple things, when you watch like a guy like Wim Hof, he acts he acted like I did in elementary school in the playground.
He does.
And that's what I'm drawn to. I'm not drawn to the person that's like sitting there and saying, well, the State of the Union today with the
exactly. I'm an intellectual.
With the economy going driven, and we studied this many times before, and they're trying to figure out which government to live. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, and then at the end of it, they have no idea. But yet there is a way out of this. And you're starting to see a lot of people getting on that bandwagon or on that train as it's leaving, and it works for them. And why that voice is becoming louder? Because everyone on that train of collaboration loves everyone on that train of fear. They love them so much they want them to come over. But they also know they can't force them. And the people in the train of fear are just yelling and throwing stuff at the train of love, but you can't hurt love. Because love is the only energy. So it's not about finding a way to love. It's letting go, and love is who you are. So when you get into the cold water, a lot of the practice he does. So within his method of practices, he has a meditation practice that comes from like an old Buddha practice, which helps heat up the body. Right? It's a meditation practice. He also does this horse type of stance where he looks like he's in a sumo position. Yep. He does it over. That moves energy around. It works from the physical stance. Then he has this breathing technique where you breathe in and out like 30 times. And on the 30th time you breathe out and you hold it, starting, I think it's a minute, and then you can get up to 3 minutes. He probably goes longer.
Plus, yeah.
Yeah. And then you do at least 3 rounds, 4 rounds, 5 rounds of that. And then comes the cold water.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the method right there. You follow all these in those, not necessarily in those orders, but you do those. You're going to be conscious, and when you're conscious, you're going to get in there. You're going to feel great. When you feel great, you are love. You are love. When you're miserable, it's very difficult to find love. So talking about love is weird because you can't talk about it. It's like talking about the beach. Just go. Put your feet in the sand and let the ocean hit you. That's the only way you experience it. So what Wim Hof does, he makes it so easy where you don't see him talking about it all day long like me and Mike. He's like, just do it. And then you do it and holy shit, what he knew for 30, 40 years, I now know. Yeah.
Do it. You'll feel it. You'll know it.
You'll know it.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. It's that simple. You could sit there and contemplate it, but just jump into cold water. Remember as kids, we would do that. I remember, before I was thinking too much, I remember me and my friends going up to a bridge. It was a drawbridge that went out to Loop Parkway on Long Island, going from the Meadowbrook Parkway to this beach called Point Lookout. And we went to drawbridge one day, and I didn't know we were going to do this. I think couple of my friends did, but we drove up there. They parked car. I'm like, what are we doing? I was like, we're jumping.
Holy shit.
And I'm like, what? And because, because I'm a dude and all my friends are jumping, I cannot not jump, dude. I'm like, good luck with that one, right?
Oh, my God. That's so funny.
But when I jumped, it was the weirdest freeing feeling. When I hit that water, the only thing I want to do is swim and do it again.
Yeah, right.
That's all I want to do. But I was like, I better not die.
Yeah.
Better not die. Explain this one to my parents.
Yeah, right. Worrying about dying where you won't even have to explain it.
You know what's funny about that? I swear to God, this happened. I was doing something, and like when I did this, I was like 16 years old.
Hell yeah.
And, most of the kids were older because one of the kids had a car. And I remember, like, my friends were going to a concert. I forgot what we were doing, but my dad's like, no, you're not going. I'm like, come on, my friends are going. I was like, and my dad's like, no, I don't care about your friends. Like, if your friends jumped off a bridge, would you? I'm like, well, it's kind of.
Actually, last week, Dad. Yeah. Oh my God, I didn't even put that together. Yeah. That's so funny. You really did jump off a fucking bridge.
I looked at him like, well, it kind of did happen, Dad.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's where that phrase, I guess that term came from.
So now anytime you hear
your
that
friend
phrase.
jump off a bridge with you, I'm like, hey, I'm that kid. I did.
Which bridge? How high?
Yeah.
Here's a perfect one touching on love from Wim Hof.
Do I believe in God? I believe. Believe is divine. Believe in divinity is there, regardless of whatever is your religion. And the embodiment is love. We should love each other. Not fight because of religion. Not fight because your God is different. God is always the same. It's love. Pure love, prosperity. Imagine what is here, all this light, all this greenery, all these shapes. I mean, the miracle of life is so immense. God is everywhere.
That's perfect. What Wim Hof is teaching you is how to get into that state. When you're in that state, you can't help to love. So telling people to love is weird. But he shows you how to get into that state where you actually understand love. And when you understand love, you are love.
Yep.
And you can't help to not love another, even if they might not love you. So it's about getting into a state. So what do? It's become conscious. Like, whether you go into cold water or not. But when you're at work, okay, notice your coworkers. Ask if they need anything. Like, hey, it's simple. Like, hey, I'm going to coffee. Do you want some? That's a conscious effort because you don't normally do that.
Absolutely.
All of a sudden, your energy will rise. You'll feel better. And you'll get response like, oh, yeah, thank you. All of a sudden, now you're in that state of love, a certain degree of it. There's multitudes of degrees of love.
Well, and you carry that with you. So you ask the coworker, right? And then, I would love a cup of coffee. Oh my God, that's perfect. And you get to the coffee house or whatever, wherever you're grabbing your coffee. And rather than just walking up and saying, 2 coffees this, not even paying attention that you're speaking to a human being, you'd walk up and you would say, hello, how are you today? While making eye contact with this barista or whatever that's going on.
Barista.
Yeah, and you guys have a moment, where it's like, oh, somebody actually acknowledged I exist. And I do this all the time when I'm at restaurants, going out to eat, all that. I'm purposely engage with because so many people come in, we just act like you're a robot, doing it. But that carries to their next customer. And it's like this chain link of pay it forwards where by you just simply being present in a moment and giving somebody the time of day, that changes multitudes of lives and multitudes of perspectives for people all over the day that you don't even see. There's like this cascade of domino effect with this love, guys. And it's
it's expansive. It's beyond. Yeah.
You feel it, you know it, and it's so rewarding. It really is.
There was something you just said that just clicked in my head. You talked about robots.
Yeah.
There's a lot of discussion of people talking about AI taking over. I'm like, AI has already taken over if you're not conscious. But if you're conscious, it will never take you over. Because consciousness is not something that you could put into a robot. But a lot of people are walking around like robots. They're saying, like you see, like people just mimicking stuff, like the car salesman just trying to sell you something over and over. That person already is a freaking robot.
Yep.
they have the ability to break out from it. So AI isn't the problem. It's consciousness to get out of it, or unconsciousness is what creates the robot effect, or the AI, the artificial intelligence. Because when you're spewing out something off of Google, it's artificial. It's already done.
Yep.
When people talk about fake news, I'm like, it's artificial. What's real? This moment right now, the information that's coming through me, that's organic. I'm plucking it from thin air.
Well, the Western society, you have to recognize that we honor the thinking mind over the intuitive mind, plain and simple. We're taught to put the that left brain way of thinking on a pedestal. This is how you are successful. This is what you are. So we live in a society that very much cultivates and promotes and only recognizes facts. I want to look it up. I want to know I'm right. I want to know you're wrong. These are very like Western culture traits. And when you see that all of those don't really matter, things start to like flow much better. And what I mean, like you're going to say, oh, facts don't matter. Well, no. Facts are very, subjective,
Most facts are actually opinions.
Well, that's it. They're half truths.
Because the fact is that I'm 55. Mm-hmm. But next year, that's not a fact anymore.
Correct.
If you're going several months, if I make it past 55.
But these are the way we manipulate data and stuff too.
Yeah, and that's the thing is because
this is a fact.
I was reading a book by Graham Hancock, and he's talking about they're finding out that there's been civilizations living longer than even the civilization they found in Africa. So all of a sudden that from an anthropologist standpoint and a geologist standpoint, all of a sudden that fact is no longer fact.
Well, that's it.
So I'm saying, what is fact? Like, it's in the moment, there could be a fact in the moment, such as me and Mike are in front of these mics. I shouldn't say that, microphones. If I'm actually says mic, I have to say microphone. Karen's like, how many mics do you need? You already have Mike Kitlas.
You already got enough of those.
Karen said that one time. Anyway, got sidetracked there. I almost lost my train of thought.
Oh, no, all good.
Yeah. But, so what is fact? The fact is only a momentary thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you try to continue it throughout your life, you're done. But when you get into a state of consciousness, you pull these things, and the information is for this moment now, and this now moment only. And we keep tapping into that. That's what children do. Children didn't need facts in order to play with each other. They didn't need to know the history of that kid over there, like where are you from? Well, now
What do your parents do?
That came later on, like it's like, hey,
no, you're
get
totally
over
right
here.
because our parents would quiz us, and what about this? I got to know this, and you learn. We learn to
so like
set
who's
up
the
these
new
barriers.
kid, and then you have this whole status thing. Okay, someone go over and ask about the new kid. And you state all these facts about the new kid, and the facts are there to whether or not you're going to actually be a friend with this child. But when we were younger, there was no facts, and guess what? We were friends with everyone. So we started eliminating things. The thing is, our system, the way our brain is set, with our pineal gland, you trigger that, and you go into what called the eighth dimension, the Akashic records, whatever you want to call it. It will guide you through the moment in which you're in right now. So what are we storing facts for? And spewing them and throwing them in people's faces and saying they're wrong. I'm fine. I'm wrong. Who cares? I don't really care. Mm-hmm. But I know how I feel. And I'm living by feeling, not fact anymore. Because facts got me. Fact is, I'm an idiot.
Seriously.
Well, yeah. Like
we're all idiots.
Talk to Dr. Mr. Schneider back in the day.
Is that the guidance counselor?
That's the guidance counselor.
That's such a funny story.
Mr. Schneider, that kid's an idiot. And that was a fact.
Yeah.
But now I'm going, and when I say go off of feelings, I'm not like there's a whole other point. I'm like, that person hurt my feelings. I'm like, no, you allowed that person to hurt your feelings. I'm talking about controlling my feelings, not giving them to somebody else. It's a different way of
taking back your power.
Taking back the power. Not like, because there's I think that's how it's got skewed with the people with all these feelings. It hurts. You can't talk about that. You're hurting my feelings. I'm like, you're missing the point here. The point is for you to control your feelings, to enact your feelings, to not suppress them, but to work them out. But do not give your feelings over to somebody else and a set of words that are going to actually trigger you. that is skewed from the understanding what we're talking about.
Imagine the world we would live in, if we were teaching children, absolutely, anger comes up. This is a very, very real emotion.
Yeah.
But to direct and blame somebody and say something outside of you is causing that anger would be absolutely just on its head ridiculous. You would be giving that power away. You have the ability to judge how you feel, what you think, etc. And that's taking this power back, and showing our kids, hey, that bully that you're saying outside of you is doing it, that bully is actually the biggest victim. And we're not teaching kids this. We're teaching that bully is wrong, and you are justified to feel the way you do. And you should hurt because what that bully said was not right. That helps no one.
No. And Wim Hof would tell you just take a cold shower.
Right?
you think that what that guy said hurts? The cold shower hurt you more.
yeah, exactly. But that's the thing. We're always trying to think, analyze. We're never just doing.
Yeah.
And this is where the fun, lies.
This is where you get back to childlike state. Whatever you guys can do in your life to amp it up, bring it back to childhood play, like have play, play again. And that's a lot of stuff that Wim Hof does. It's playing. Yeah. Like when he does that stance, he's like, hoo-ha, hoo-ha, hoo-ha. I'm like,
total play.
People are like, oh, that looks ridiculous. I'm like, no, if you get around with a bunch of your friends and start doing that after like a couple of minutes, all of a sudden there's this camaraderie.
Yep.
And all of a sudden you're in it. It's kind of like a tribal beat, boom, boom, bah, and you start getting into it. All of a sudden you're connecting, and all of a sudden it's no longer silly. It's actually beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like a beautiful dance from ancient time.
The closest I can relate to that is kind of like when you're with all your friends and you just start like dancing funny. Like everybody's kind of letting loose or something like that. And then it doesn't matter.
Because
like,
no one's judging.
Yeah, and you're not trying to look cool. You're actually having fun. Everybody's laughing.
Did you ever try to
it's
look
like a
cool?
whole thing. Oh, if you try to look cool, especially if you're dancing, that is a worse recipe. Because then you're that dude.
I remember when I was younger. Like I was like, you go dancing, you couldn't go all out, like because you're especially living in New York. It's like
totally.
Unless you were like John Travolta, like you're like, dude, I can't dance like that. So the cool dance was this.
Yeah, like less is more.
You sit like this.
Yep.
But then, like, when you think about it, you look like is something wrong? You're having like a little spasm. You just sit there,
honey.
And you're sitting against the wall because you can't do this. You can't be like that in the middle of the dance floor. In the middle of the dance floor, you have to go all in.
All the rules.
You have to go all in. So I would sit on the side like this.
Yep.
And you're looking around for a girl, like
just a little head.
Is a girl going to come out? And the girl's like, I'm not going to. That guy looks like he's.
What's wrong with that dude? Why does he keep bopping his head?
He's having convulsions. He's got a tick.
But that's a perfect example of being stuck in the head. It's things like that, school dances and things like that, where you're like, okay, this is how I'm being perceived. This is how I need to act. Yeah. You're so caught in your head that you're just morphing this situation into the shittiest experience ever. Yeah. But those people who don't have any thought and just jump in there, how the hell did they do that? They're having so much. Well, no, they just weren't thinking.
Yeah, just like Elaine on Seinfeld.
Hell yeah. Well, as far as Wim Hof goes, this episode is a perfect way for people to jump out there and get outside of their comfort zone. We've been very much, when you're listening to Perspective Shift, it's these different point of perspectives, and it's usually from, a higher mind place of thinking. Here's a place to jump into to have no thinking whatsoever. That's what Wim Hof is about. And these tools that he offers, not only are they free, cold water you can find anywhere. It's coming out of your tap now. It's coming out of your shower. Breathing. We all have the ability. We're doing this all day long. Meditation. We all can sit down at any point, anywhere in a house, in a corner, whatnot, and close our eyes and meditate. And then push-ups, Yeah,
I imagine also, too, I never even thought about this looking it up for even myself. There's probably like these like Wim Hof groups.
Oh, I'm
people
sure.
Like in the area where you live, you could probably join them and get together because it is fun to do. Like when you're doing these physical things or whatever, it is fun to do it in a group.
It is.
It really is.
Well, and the energy amplifies.
Yeah, because I would have never jumped off that bridge if it wasn't for my friends.
Seriously,
like, were you kidding me?
Seriously.
Yeah, but check it out. you go through his method, find out. What will happen is as you start to implement these type of practices, you're going to notice other areas of life open up.
Absolutely.
The way you communicate with other people, the way you feel about your job, all of a sudden possibilities start to open up. It's not just about withstanding the cold. It goes way, way deeper than that. It's not even just about the everyday health of your immune system. It touches the psyche of the being who you are, and it starts to expand. And all those other things are just nice attributes from it, nice side effects. They're brilliant. But there's something more. It's about expanding that mind.
Yeah.
And when we expand the mind, the body has to keep up.
That's it.
It has to. It has to get the mind to where it's got to go.
There's some Osage or some Osage,
Some
awesome
Osage.
footage, awesome content and footage online, guys. I mean, shit. I think there's stuff on like Netflix stuff too, right?
Yeah, I think
There's so many platforms where Wim Hof History Channel is another one where they've featured and done specials on this. This shows you that it can be done. Things outside of you that we were told by doctors and teachers that are physically impossible. Well, Wim Hof's sitting there laughing, going, "I did that twice."
And you know what? There's a lot of people out there that are talking about this too. So it's obviously a perspective shift. Like Wim Hof, with the breathing and stuff like that, it's closely related to what Dr. Joe Dispenza
100%
is because like the breathing techniques are very similar.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something there, and these both gentlemen I'm just choosing these two gentlemen now because we're talking about Wim Hof and Dr. Joe Dispenza. They have the same freaking claims. And actually, Dr. Joe is a doctor. Mm-hmm. He was in the medical field. I know he started as a chiropractor, but he got into the studying of neurology in the brain and the physiology of the brain. The guy's well versed in the medical field and the understanding of stuff. And it's breathing and meditation and moving beyond that, stepping into the unknown. And when you jump off a cliff into ice water, hell, that is unknown. Mm. And when you do that, you become childlike. And when you become childlike, you're in a state of love. And all of a sudden, the body, the mind, everything starts to become one. And then something miraculous happens. That's it.
So we encourage you guys, get out there, try some of these tools. See how they expand your level of consciousness. Just do it. Do it. As Wim would say.
Yeah.
But he has an app you can download, guys. Check him out on YouTube. See his podcast wherever. Give it a try and step outside of your comfort zone and have some fun. It's something you won't regret. I'm going to be taking these cold showers forward and seeing where those take me on my next challenges. Have fun with it. If you liked what you heard today, please subscribe at the link below. You can email us with any questions, inquiries, hosts, teachers, people you'd like us to feature here on Perspective Shift. Our email is perspectiveshift2020@gmail.com. Other than that,
and also too, we're on Instagram, so you can direct message us, DM us there. If that's the easiest way to message us about, if you have any questions, if you don't understand a lot of stuff we're talking about, we can get back to you from there. So we're on Instagram as well, so check us out.
Yeah. Reach out, guys. We'll see you next week.
Peace out.